Welcome to the Daily Vibecasting.
Let's get into it.
Today, the enterprise wakes up to the reality that they might be training their own replacements, the frontier model price war turns into a complete bloodbath, and the 9-to-5 grind is officially labeled a scam by the AI itself.
Yeah, it is just a massive day on the wire. We are seeing structural shifts in real time, and, the gap between the people actually paying attention and the people operating on autopilot is just widening by the hour.
Exactly. And that's why you're here with us. We've taken a stack of the top posts, the research, the essays from The Wire today, and we're going to deep dive into what this means for your moat, your job, and your future.
That's the mission.
Right. Our mission is to cut through all the noise, separate the actual reality from the hype, and really understand the second-order effects of these massive market and culture shifts.
Yeah.
So we are jumping right into a high-stakes narrative that's fundamentally changing corporate strategy today.
Yeah, this one is huge.
It all stems from a recent essay by Microsoft's Satya Nadella. So Vaibhav Sisanti highlighted this concept from it, calling it the reverse information paradox.
Right, the reverse information paradox.
Yeah, and the core idea here is that companies using AI are actually paying for the privilege twice.
Basically, yeah. First you pay with your corporate wallet, right? And then you pay with your proprietary data.
Wait, I need to stop you right there, because I understand paying a subscription fee, obviously, for an enterprise tool. But how exactly are we paying with our data? Don't these platforms have, privacy agreements and enterprise tiers that supposedly protect your inputs?
Well, yeah, on paper. But what's fascinating here is the sheer asymmetry of the actual usage, regardless of those top-level privacy umbrellas.
What do you mean by asymmetry?
Okay, so when we talk about leaking data, we aren't just talking about uploading a spreadsheet of client emails. That's the old way of thinking. We are talking about workflow traces.
Oh.
Think about it. Every single time your senior engineer corrects a hallucinated line of code, or every time your marketing director, refines a prompt to get the tone exactly right.
They're teaching the model.
Exactly. Every time your team maps out a complex, multi-step decision tree inside an AI interface, that is organizational intelligence. You are diligently correcting the AI's mistakes and fine-tuning its outputs for them.
Oh, man. So all of that behavioral intelligence, like how your company actually solves its unique problems, that just flows upward into the vendor's infrastructure.
Yep. Their product compounds in value. It gets smarter for everyone, including your direct competitors, while your internal systems just stagnate. You're effectively offshoring your organizational learning.
Okay, let's unpack this, because Aaron Levy, the CEO of Box, he jumped on this exact point online today.
He's been really vocal about this.
He has. And he argues that as raw AI intelligence continues to commoditize, meaning everyone just has access to the same baseline supercomputer, your corporate IP is literally your only defensible moat.
Because the reasoning engine is the same for everybody.
Right. He's talking about your specific decisions, your insights, your internal workflows. If everyone has access to the exact same reasoning engine, the only thing separating a Fortune 500 company from some teenager in a garage is proprietary data.
And that data is just slipping through the enterprise's fingers every single day.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a massive regulatory and strategic fallout from this realization now. Chamath Palihapitiya pointed out today that Palantir's Alex Karp has essentially started this preference cascade around AI sovereignty.
A preference cascade. I like that term.
Yeah, suddenly boardrooms are waking up and realizing, wait, our internal knowledge actually is our sovereignty.
Right, and Chamath specifically points to Mark Benioff at Salesforce pushing this zero data retention policy, ZDR. The whole mechanism there is routing customer data through a secure gateway, so absolutely none of it is retained for model training.
Which forces you, if you're listening to this and you're managing a team right now, you have to ask a very hard question. When your junior developer uses an AI agent to fix a bug, does your company get smarter tomorrow? Or does the vendor get smarter?
Yeah.
Are you building token capital internally, creating a compounding loop of knowledge that your company actually owns? Or are you just handing your trade secrets over for a quick, temporary productivity bump?
Because if you're leaking your workflow traces, you don't actually have a moat.
No, you just have a very expensive software subscription.
Man, that's brutal. But, if proprietary data is the ultimate moat, you'd think these AI companies would charge an absolute premium for the tools required to generate it. But they aren't. They're actually bleeding cash to give it away.
Which tells us something terrifying about the current price war.
Exactly. This is our next major signal from The Wire today. We're seeing the biggest players, OpenAI, Anthropic, Meta, just simultaneously slashing limits.
The race to the bottom for pricing is really a race to the top for user data.
Yeah, they're extending free tiers and doing these massive resets on usage caps. Like Anthropic's Claude I account just announced they're extending Claude Fable 5 access on all their paid plans and keeping weekly rate limits artificially high.
Right.
And meanwhile, Kimanismus is posting about OpenAI completely removing the 5-hour limit on Codex and ChatGPT work right after hitting 6 million active users on their newest model.
I mean, let's look at the corporate framing here because it is incredibly thick.
Oh, totally.
Is Anthropic just being super generous with this expansion, or is this just a desperate retention play?
I lean heavily toward the latter. The analysis from Alex Finn today is just spot on.
What did he say?
He pointed out that Anthropic's current flagship model is trailing OpenAI's new release so badly in complex reasoning tasks that if they tried to charge standard API pricing right now, users would have churned en masse.
So just leave.
Exactly. They're basically subsidizing compute just to buy loyalty and keep that sweet data flowing. But wait, Churchley Oros chimed in on this too, noting the massive pressure from OpenAI, Grok, and Meta's new models. But isn't lower pricing and expanded access just a massive win for the consumer?
You'd think so, right?
I mean, if these giants want to burn venture capital to give you cheap superintelligence, shouldn't builders just take the win?
Well, it looks like a win on paper, sure, but the reality for developers is actually brutal. Omar Sar rightfully criticized these games today.
Oh, I saw that post.
Yeah, if you're a developer trying to build a reliable, scalable system, unpredictable access limits and constantly shifting pricing tiers are deeply disruptive.
You can't plan around that.
No, you cannot budget for a product launch if the underlying API costs might, triple in 3 weeks because some promotional period quietly ends. It creates a highly volatile building environment. The tech giants are just using developers as pawns in a market share war.
You literally can't build a stable business on a foundation that shifts its terms of service every 14 days.
No, you really can't.
And here's where it gets really interesting. We keep treating software pricing and software capabilities as the primary bottleneck, but it's the underlying hardware infrastructure that's actually driving this completely vertical leap.
The pace of hardware iteration is genuinely breaking our mental models of how innovation even works.
Yeah, there's a brilliant post today from Ethan Mollick making an analogy that really grounds this. He talks about how energy experts used to project linear growth for solar installations year after year.
Right, the straight line fallacy.
Exactly. They would draw a straight line slightly upward, and every single year they'd get it completely wrong because the actual growth was exponential. And he argues that AI product strategists are falling into the exact same cognitive trap right now.
Yep.
He shared this METR data showing that AI task completion times have just surged completely vertical post-2024.
Because people are building product roadmaps based on the assumption that, well, this is as good as it gets for a while.
All right.
And the ground just keeps accelerating underneath them.
It's crazy. And we have concrete mechanical proof of that exponential leap today. Will from Prime Intellect posted that you can now train a 100 billion parameter reasoning model, specifically for 40-turn software engineering agent tasks, in under 2 days on just 6 NVIDIA H200 nodes.
I mean, that level of efficiency was literally unimaginable 12 months ago.
Unimaginable. But okay, we throw around terms like 40-turn software engineering task a lot.
Yeah.
For the non-engineers listening to us right now, what does that actually look like in practice? Why is a 40-turn task such a massive leap?
Okay, so a turn is essentially an interaction or a decision cycle. In the past, an AI could write a block of code, and that was one turn.
Okay.
Then a human had to take it, test it, find the error, and prompt the AI again. That's another turn. A 40-turn agentic task means the AI writes the code, spins up an environment, runs the code, reads its own error logs, figures out why it failed, rewrites the architecture, tests it again, and does that cycle 40 times consecutively without a human ever intervening.
Wow. It's just working autonomously in the background.
Exactly. To train a model capable of maintaining that level of autonomous focus and to do it in 2 days on a handful of server nodes, it completely redefines software development. Perplexity CEO Arav Srinivas actually chimed in today, noting that NVIDIA's new Vera CPUs are delivering massive speedups on exactly these kinds of agentic tasks.
Over 50% faster than traditional by 86 architecture.
Yep.
So we have to analyze what this speed actually means for product builders. If the hardware is compounding this fast and the training times are just plummeting, your traditional product development lifecycle is basically dead.
It's totally dead.
Jason Fried posted this great analogy about the minimum viable pie. He argues that validation is a mirage.
It's the perfect way to look at it, honestly. You can't just bake a single slice of pie to see if people like the flavor. A pie is a complex, interdependent system of crust and filling and baking temperature.
Exactly. And in this market, you can't validate a single feature in isolation anymore. By the time you've built the MVP, run your focus groups, and, gathered the user data, the baseline capabilities of the frontier models have already doubled.
Which renders your MVP completely obsolete.
Right. If the ground is moving this fast, you just have to trust your gut, ship the full comprehensive version 1.0, and just accept the uncertainty. The MVP was a luxury of a slower era.
It really was, and if we take that exponential hardware curve to its logical extreme, it brings us to this massive theoretical debate happening on the wire today.
Oh yeah, this is wild.
Can these models actually invent new science?
Right.
The skeptics always say LLMs are just incredibly fast calculators predicting the next word based on human data. But Yuntut Tsai, a senior AI engineer at Tesla, offered a really compelling counterargument using the AlphaGo comparison.
Yeah, he pointed out that before AlphaGo, the entire scientific community said AI could never master the game of Go because the search space is simply too big. So 2 times 10 to the power of 170 possibilities.
A number so big it doesn't even make sense.
Exactly. You couldn't fit a brute force calculation of Go in a computer the size of the universe. But the AI did master it. Junta argues that physics equations are fundamentally just data compression.
Which is such a cool way to think about it.
Right. Just finding the simplest rule to explain a massive set of observations. He believes that long-running AI agents could eventually compress data so well that they make Einstein-level leaps in theoretical physics.
It is a profound thought, because AlphaGo didn't just regurgitate human moves, right? It found moves humans had never considered in 3,000 years of playing the game. It found an alien logic.
Hold on, though. I have to push back there. Go is a board game.
Sure.
It's a closed mathematical system with fixed rules. Physics requires empirical validation in the messy real world. How does a language model sitting on a server farm somewhere test a new theory of relativity without access to, like, a particle accelerator?
No, it's a fair point. It's a great distinction. And it gets to the heart of how AI research is evolving. The argument isn't that the AI will conduct physical experiments itself. The argument is about pattern recognition across massive, disparate data sets.
Okay, go on.
Human scientists operate in silos, right? The quantum physicists rarely read the cutting-edge biology papers. But if you point a massively parallel, reasoning-optimized model at the raw data of every physics experiment, every astronomical observation, every quantum anomaly ever recorded, it can hold all of those variables in its context window simultaneously.
I see.
It might spot a mathematical correlation between subatomic behavior and macrogravity that a human brain literally cannot hold in its working memory. It doesn't need to build a particle accelerator. It just needs to find the pattern hidden in the data the accelerators have already produced.
Man, that's intense. And if we are talking about AI agents that can execute 40-turn software engineering tasks autonomously and potentially synthesize new theories of physics, we have to transition to the cultural fallout here.
We really do.
What happens to human capital? How is this speed rewiring society?
Well, we are seeing a massive, glaring disconnect between the macroeconomic numbers being touted by institutions and the actual reality on the ground.
Let's do a vibe check on the macro data. Mark Andreessen posted today mocking the narrative that AI is going to immediately wipe out entry-level jobs.
Yeah, he pulled that Federal Reserve chart.
Right, the FRD chart showing that youth unemployment, specifically ages 20 to 24, has sat completely stable between 6.9% and 7.1% from late 2022 all the way to June 2026. He's basically saying, look at the data. The robots didn't take the jobs.
Sure, but then you look at a post from Unusual Whales sharing a Wall Street Journal report today. High-earner families are frantically pulling their kids out of traditional K-8 schools.
It's a mass exodus. And where are the elites putting their children instead?
Into places like Forge Prep.
Right.
These are specialized schools entirely focused on negotiation, physical world life skills, and hyper-personalized AI tutors. They are completely abandoning rote memorization and standardized testing. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the hypocrisy of the system is just incredible. The people with capital are looking at the exact same AI capabilities we just talked about, the autonomous coding agents, the reasoning models, and realizing that training a human being to memorize facts or write boilerplate code is a total dead end.
They're pivoting.
Yeah, they're pivoting their children toward unscrapable skills. Meanwhile, The broader public education system is still churning out workers for an industrial factory model that the AI is currently dismantling.
What exactly defines an unscrapable skill in this context? Because people need to know what to focus on.
An unscrapable skill is anything that requires deep emotional resonance, complex physical world navigation, or high-stakes human trust.
Like negotiation.
Exactly. AI can draft the perfect merger agreement in 3 seconds, but it cannot sit in a boardroom, read the body language of a hostile CEO, and negotiate the emotional friction of closing the deal. Empathy, resilience, charisma, physical traits, those are unscrapable.
That really hits home when you see the viral post from Alex Varem today. He shared a screenshot where Claude AI, the model itself, was asked to analyze modern labor. It literally identified the 9-to-5 workday as the biggest scam humanity has collectively accepted.
The AI said that.
The AI said it. The AI pointed out the mechanics of it. It said it's an artificial economic arrangement fueled by consumerism and debt, where people trade the peak hours of their biological prime just to reclaim small slivers of freedom on the weekend.
Man, when the optimization engine starts critiquing the fundamental structure of modern labor, you know the vibe has shifted.
Big time.
It is identifying the 9-to-5 not as a natural human law, but as a construct of industrial-era compliance.
So what does this all mean? I mean, if the traditional education system is obsolete and the 9-to-5 is an industrial relic, are we actually changing the system, or are we just changing who gets to run it? Because history shows us that whenever there is massive technological disruption, the incumbents don't just roll over.
No, they fight back. They fight back incredibly hard. And the weapon of choice is always regulatory capture.
Always.
When you can no longer compete on innovation, you compete on legislation. Look at the incredibly cynical pivot from Uber that Sul highlighted on The Wire today.
Oh, this is rich.
Think back to a decade ago. Uber was the ultimate anti-regulatory rebel. They were crusading across cities, fighting the taxi medallions, breaking local ordinances to usher in the future of transportation.
And now they are the establishment.
Exactly. Now that they are the incumbent, Uber is heavily lobbying for legislation in New Jersey that would literally mandate human drivers for 85% of all rideshare trips.
Wait, Uber is actively asking for human drivers to be mandated. That sounds completely backward for a tech company. Why would they want that?
Because they see the autonomous vehicle competitors like Waymo and Tesla coming for their margins.
Of course.
It is the definition of pulling the ladder up behind you. They use technology to destroy the old regulatory moat of the taxi industry, and now they're using regulation to build a moat against better technology. They want to freeze the market exactly where it is today with them sitting at the top.
Wow.
Contrast that incumbent protectionism with the post today from Michael Saylor talking about the mechanics of Bitcoin.
Yeah, Saylor argues that in the Bitcoin network, influence is earned purely through tangible work. You bring hash rate, you run nodes, you facilitate real commerce. You don't get to, lobby the protocol to slow down a competitor.
Right. It is a true meritocracy of energy and utility.
Yeah.
The network doesn't care about your ambition, your PR firm, or how much you spent on lobbying in New Jersey.
It just doesn't.
And that contrast is the defining battle of the next decade. Open, permissionless, cryptographic networks that require proof of work versus captured, heavily regulated corporate monopolies trying to freeze time through legislation.
It's a battle between a system that proves its value daily and a system that legislates its own relevance. Which brings us to our final thought for today's deep dive.
Yeah, I want to leave you with a specific question to ponder, kind of pulling all these threads together.
Go for it.
If Satya Nadella and Alex Karp are right, and internal institutional knowledge is the only corporate moat left, but the underlying hardware is simultaneously making traditional education and 9-to-5 labor completely obsolete, who actually controls the wealth in 2030?
That's the million-dollar question.
Is it the massive tech conglomerates hoarding the server farms and the GPUs, or is it the sovereign individuals armed with those unscrapable human skills who simply refuse to participate in the old industrial systems?
That is the question of the decade. And based on what we're tracking on The Wire today, here's my prediction for tomorrow. The corporate sovereignty panic is very real. Expect to see at least 2 more Fortune 500 companies publicly announce zero data retention policies by the end of the week.
I wouldn't doubt it.
The enterprise is finally waking up, and they're terrified of leaking their intellectual property to the very models they are paying to use. Stay skeptical, stay sovereign. We'll see you tomorrow on the Daily Vibecasting.